Hello everyone, I'll be showing one of the best ways to make and organize VFX using modules with both client and server side. Firstly, when you're spawning VFX from replicated storage, you need to also be cloning and emitting the VFX from there. And this works great, but a huge problem is that it only works on the client. So if someone else were to join you and you spawn the VFX and then played it, it wouldn't show anything on their side. Here I'll click play, and at the top left you'll see a small toggle between server and client. Basically client is blue and server is green. And if I were to clone an effect from replicated storage, it would only show on the client, the blue side, because you're spawning the effect from a local script and not a server script. If you've seen my scripting tutorial, you'll know that everything in that tutorial happens in one local script. It can get extremely cluttered, and if you're even trying to make better or more complicated effects, it's an absolute nightmare. And it only shows on the client side too. Now here I have this local script down to its bare bones inside the starter player scripts to just print check when I click 1. This is the script where everything would happen with the other tutorials method of playing VFX, but now it's just going to be where you call your VFX module and the server script later in the video. Now in replicated storage, I'll make 3 folders called VFX, modules, and sound effects. And I'll use this sound and this example VFX that I have saved in VFX Studio. And I'll also put them in their folders so I can clone them later. Now add 2 module scripts. This is where everything's going to happen, and you need this for the server side part later. I'll name mine example VFX mechanics because this is where everything's going to happen. And I'll name the next one effect manager, which you can keep closed for now. If you've been scripting most of your VFX on a local script, you might be new to modules. And simply, modules are just scripts that return functions and are dormant unless you call them from another script. This is insanely useful when working with server-side too. Modules can emit VFX, create VFX, tween VFX, and do a lot more that's not VFX related. Modules have much more to them, but luckily we're working with VFX, so all we're doing is scripting VFX and calling functions from modules to script them. Like in my other tutorial where I called the rock module for the cool debris explosion. So in your mechanics module, you should rename everything, reference replicated storage, and make an empty function to spawn your effect. You'll also notice functions in modules can't be local to call them from other scripts, and need to start with the name of the module up top, followed by the function name. Now, like the scripting tutorial, you can clone your effect, position it, and parent it. Now, if you head back to your local script called effect input, you can now reference this mechanics module up top with require and call example.spawn effects. I'll click play, and you'll see when I click 1, it spawns it with no bugs. This is also extremely important for when switching to server side. Now let's say you want to emit or enable your VFX. This is where Effect Manager comes in. This is extremely versatile, and in my Manager module, I can control tons of particles, clone and create them, and control beams, meshes, and lighting. But all we need for now is to emit or enable. Open it up, and I'll change the name to FX and paste this emit function exactly the same from the scripting tutorial. Now I'll fix up the example VFX for emitting and head back to the mechanics module. Now you reference the effect manager just like how you reference the mechanics module in your local script. And you can easily call emit from the effect manager module in your mechanics module. I'll click play, and you'll see the VFX emitting when I click 1. Now I'll add this enable function and do the exact same thing. And you'll see it enable when I click 1. That is basically all you need to play your effects on the client side, and the simplest way. There are way more complicated ways out there, but this is the simplest I could figure out and share. The client side portion is done, and you'll see the VFX working great, being emitted and enabled, but you'll also see that when I switch to the server side screen, there's absolutely nothing on screen. Even when I spawn more, nothing is being emitted, enabled, or even cloned. That's why I made a big portion on proper client setup, so the transfer is super easy and understandable. Keep in mind some functions break when heading to server side, so if you're making VFX for a game or something important, make sure your functions and everything work on both sides. When you're switching your effect from client side to server side, or just straight up making it on the server side, you're going to need to make a new folder called remotes in replicated storage and add a regular script that I'll name VFX server and put it in server script service. Now in your remotes folder, make a new remote event called example event. This is how the call to the server will work. The remote event is like a bridge. The local script will send a call to the remote event, which sends a call to the server to then call the example.spawnEffect function from the mechanics module being referenced. So the order is local script, which is your input when you click 1. Then since you clicked 1, it'll fire to the server script that you did click 1 and call the example mechanics module to play your effect on the server and show to other players. The role of effect input is to now send a call to the server to call the mechanics. The server is calling the mechanics now, but needs the local script to know. To set this up, you don't even need to reference the local and server script together. You just need both to reference the remote on both scripts, like this. Also use wait for child since it's way better here when you're working with more remotes. Now reference everything like the local script in the server script, but instead now you can't detect for inputs inside the server script. Instead, you need to detect for it if the event was called from the local script from when you pressed 1. So it'll look bare bones like this, and I'll just add a print to know if server side or client side has been called. Now head to the local script and remove the module, and instead of spawning the effect here, you are firing the remote to the server. Now these scripts can communicate with each other through the remote, so I'll start the game and check the output, and you'll see when I click 1, the scripts both fire the print. And you can see that client and server have been fired. That's how to set up your server and client scripts to communicate with each other. Remember, the modules are dormant unless called, so they are very useful here since you can just call your mechanics or VFX without making any changes. Now all you gotta do to call your VFX is call the spawn effect function you made in your mechanics module, and you see now when I click 1, it emits and enables on the client side. Now when I hit the toggle button to see if it's on the server side, you'll see the effect being emitted and enabled on both sides. This can for sure be optimized, but this is the simplest way to get your VFX working on the client and server side. Now someone else can join your game and they will be able to see your VFX and you'll be able to see theirs. That's everything to cover all the basics of VFX client and server-side scripting. You can do a lot more with this, and I'll show some more extremely useful modules and scripts that I use that'll help a lot. Firstly, to add sounds for both server and client scripts, head to the Effect Manager module and add a function called fx.playSound. In this function, you need 3 parameters, being the actual sound in your replicated storage, the parent, and the position of the sound. Now inside, just make a local sound that gets cloned, then parent it and play it. You don't really have to return it, but if you have more complex functions with sound, it might help. Now head to your mechanics module and you'll be able to call play sound. Make sure to reference your sound, your parent, which is the effect, and the parent's position. Now if you head in and click 1, you hear the sound being played with the effect working, and if you check with a friend or multiple clients, both sides will be able to hear it. A very useful service you should use is the Debri Service, which just cleans up your VFX and removes a ton of clutter. You can do this in either mechanics or manager, but I like the manager. First, reference the Debri service up top, and I'll name mine Debri. Then I like to make a new function called cleanup with parent and delay in the parameters, and just do Debri add item with the parent and with the small delay. Now in your mechanics, you can just call this cleanup function with the small delay, and you'll see that once I click play and spawn the effect, it'll disappear after 2 seconds. Finally, for one of the best functions for VFX is the mouse raycast. This will just get your mouse position and return it, which is perfect for testing VFX wherever you want. It also won't break when you aim it at the sky. To do this, put in this mouse raycast local function that I have, and put it inside the effect input script. Then, where the fire server line is, you can actually send in parameters. In this case, I'll be sending the mouse's position to the remote to the server. I haven't figured out how yet, but you can't get the mouse position unless it's in the effect input, so watch out for that. Then in your server script, you need to put player, then mouse in the on server event parameters, and in the spawn effect, put mouse, which is the position that's being returned from the function in that effect input script. Now you can head over to your mechanic script and just replace the position with mouse and make a parameter called mouse. And everything should be properly referenced regardless of which way you do it. I'll click play and you'll see anywhere I hover my mouse over and click 1, the effect spawns there and properly plays the sound and emits it. Note this sadly doesn't work with mobile since I don't know how to work with mobile yet. Please, if you have any questions, ask in the comments or ask in my server and I'll respond super quick. Hopefully this video helped, and make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.